covered. I just stepped in a deal. I stepped in a deal here. I stepped in a deal there. There are so many deals I can't help but step on them. You want a deal? This is the deal. This is the best deal you're ever gonna get. 1886% off. Let's get everyone covered. Everyone will get covered. 1886% off. Now, as you can see, we have 4 mounds, and before we excavate the bodies, which there are plenty, we're going to examine the architecture of the place itself. The north mound here, as you can very well see, 90 to 120 feet high. South mound, 80 to like 70 feet high. Is this east or is this west? Probably east. 30 million tons of waste among all of these mounds. What you have here is like a whole lot of dirt mixed in with human remains, mixed in with cans, mixed in with bags, mixed in all appliances, from washing machines to dryers to toasters, styrofoam to aluminum, because you know recycling is probably one of the most ghostly of the things that we're going to talk about. You know, I don't know, have you ever actually seen a recycling plant? I haven't myself. They put the recycling out, but no one actually has ever seen where they take the stuff. It's rumored that there are recycling plants maybe on some island far away, in the outskirts of a city, but there aren't even human beings on the outskirts of a city, to my knowledge. I mean, there's trash everywhere. Starting soon. We're starting in about 20 minutes, so take your break. There's a restroom over here. Right to my left, there's a restroom there in that elongated sort of tower. And I know it's eerie, but it's just part of the package deal you get with a tour like this. And, you know, refreshments are over there. There's some water to, you know, nourish yourself. Don't get dehydrated. It's very hot out, and the fumes coming off of the junk and dump, it doesn't smell great. It's not good, and it's toxic, and we could die before this is over. There's so much to get to, but before we do that, I just want to take a moment to recognize the odor that you might be smelling coming from this area. Now, I think what you'd expect more or less is something toxic, like a mixture of chlorine and urine. Really, an islander's day is all about the direction of the wind. It doesn't smell good. And they try and mask that smell with pine and lemon, but it actually just adds to the smell and makes something rather so disgusting. It's like a funeral parlor kind of covered in urine. Just 1 minute. Jesus Christ. They're on me with all these questions today. Can they see me? I'm going to demonstrate today a process that's really quite simple. I mean, you know, thousands of men have tirelessly done this as their career, as their chosen career, or their, well, maybe not chosen, but no option but career. I mean, we're about like 125 feet in the air. You can see me right now from the moon. This landfill is surrounded by the Great Kills estuary, and that water is about 70% corn syrup, as are most people here. I, myself, and everyone else in the surrounding areas are about 70% corn syrup. South Mound is a site where some of the most bitter of souls roam the land. It's the burial site of the sanitation department. Did you hear that? I think that was the bitter soul of Marty Bellew, because as I was about to say, Marty Bellew took what he thought was a temporary job, as all things started off in this dump. Everything started off as temporary and turned into a lifetime of servitude. Chills. You see the hair on my arms. And it's said that his ghost is especially volatile in this area, as well as his wife. His wife was rumored to have chased him around the kitchen many a time with a broomstick and a paddle with his name carved into it. It said that he could walk on water And it said that he wanted to get as high to the sky as possible, like Jesus and God. Now, someone in 1930 was a bit smaller than a human nowadays, so we're going to try and guess how big his body was. This feels about the right proportions to maybe where his stomach was. But let's say this is his head, and these are his arms. This is probably the rope. This is his belly, more or less. And then how about his feet? Yeah, over there. Go past that. Go past the sort of sunken ice cream truck. Through the dirt. Through the dirt pile. I know. Yeah, just try and cover your... Obviously, we can't close the dump because, of course, these guys, they don't want to ever close the dump. The dump means too much. The dump's too close to the heart, which is also the dump. I hate my boss. I'm out here in the literal field. I mean, this is over 2,200 acres of supernatural and filth, and I'm out here excavating bodies, and you know, my boss writes the text and pays the bills but doesn't understand what it's like to telepathically communicate. You need to put any of your personal belongings, any of your treasured bits in the car, that's fine. It's unlocked. There's always someone forcing someone into a different kind of life here. That's the sound of about 600 disgruntled employees that were chased by packs of feral dogs. Like I mentioned, there was, you know, recycling plants are part of the myth. So there's plenty of cans here. It's quite scary around here because the sounds of spirits, their voices are echoed through cans a lot, which amplifies the sound. If you were someone who would go to the mall to go shopping, or you were someone who worked at the mall, that you were often seen running, sprinting from the mall to your car with like this, because the smell was so absolutely overwhelming. You could just pass out. And not only that, you would be pronounced dead on sight even if your heart still beat, and you'd be taken to this site, this dump, and you'd just be thrown in with everything else. Kathy O'Leary was a real estate broker who was assigned to this area. She had a really tough time in her life and her career. She dreamed of being a real estate broker, as so many women do, all her life, and she was assigned to this land, this area, the surrounding neighborhoods of this dump. She was quoted to say something like, "You couldn't even give away these homes." That should give you a sense of what it was like, and you can still hear her once in a while, kind of in the wind, hear her voice saying, "Look at the view about 2 miles this way." It's also said that if you come here around twilight and you kind of look out into the estuary, you can still hear her pouring coffee and cutting muffins, getting ready for like an afternoon open house. But I think she was really proud of that perm. So we're gonna give her a bit of a perm here. And with perms, it's always the bigger the better. So we're really gonna add some volume here. It wasn't a feathered perm, it was a curly perm. So we can add some texture, we can add some curl textures as we excavate her burial site. So you can see here a head and a big curly perm, and then a very slender figure, which she also prided herself for. Legs, long, skinny legs. She was a former dancer. And then just like delicate little arms. Little arms to pour coffee and cut muffins for open houses.
They rose from the same land at almost exactly the same time. Legend has it, every time the circle closed in on itself again, the person in the dump would get a little closer to the height of the sky, till you could see the dump from the moon as well as the Great Wall of China. The person always tried to find ways to the sky until it finally took. My dump was the largest in the world from 1955 to 2001, when it closed. and the man from 1957 to 2001. Like Jesus, they could both walk on the water of the estuary outlining western Staten Island. Water concentrated and condensed so formidably from the factories that line its shore that it turned into corn syrup and solidified just enough to lightly skip over. Being from this place, I'm 70% corn syrup instead of water like other people. A corn syrup trail resembling cheap gravel leads from the beach bungalow of an elderly woman to the beach bungalow of an elderly man, both on a compound a convenient 2 feet away from each other. Easy for when the woman felt like throwing a broomstick at the man through her kitchen window. They are technically married. In the late 1960s, the younger man who rose from the dump rode himself and his 6 siblings in a boat down a corn syrup river after a big, unforgiving storm to a deli and back for supplies. If you are departing from Patterson and Hunter at Midland Beach, you can take the bus from St. George Ferry Terminal. Don't be frightened if the bus driver has no head or hands to speak of. Just pay him a gold coin that I will provide for you on this tour, and his spirit will lead you to transfer to the S92 to Victory Boulevard, Glen Street. And then it's just a quick hop, skip and away, 21-minute walk down to the dump. At the dump, the ghosts of feral dogs and vermin will escort you to the eastern edge, down a 3-mile greenway. Beautiful views of downtown Manhattan's skyline. If you make it at twilight, you can climb the ghostly heap of forgotten and lost shoes and wallets to the top, and you'll maybe even catch the glimpse of the ghost of a skyscraper, 20 years dead, with a halo of orange and yellow.